It was supposed to be a blind date with a woman as perfect as his success, beautiful, educated, elegant. But when Ethan Ward, the cold and distant CEO of Ward Enterprises, looked up from his untouched coffee, it wasn't the woman he expected who walked in. It was Lena Hayes, a girl with worn-out shoes, a trembling smile, and a simple floral dress that didn't belong in the city's most expensive café. She wasn't supposed to be there. She sat down by mistake. And in that single moment, without realizing it, the girl who had nothing entered the life of a man who had everything, and yet felt completely empty. Chapter 1: The Mistaken Seat. Ethan Ward was known as the man who didn't feel. The youngest CEO in the city, 32 years old, calculated, precise, and intimidatingly calm. His company built luxury, high-end hotels, towers, and resorts that screamed perfection. Yet, despite being surrounded by success, Ethan's world was silent. Every morning was routine, every night, lonely. He was waiting for a blind date arranged by his business partner's wife, a woman named Valerie, described as a perfect match. Ethan didn't believe in romance, but he had agreed to go, partly out of pressure, partly out of curiosity. The cafe was elegant, golden chandeliers glowing softly. Couples laughed around him, the air rich with perfume and espresso. Ethan checked his watch. 6:45 p.m. Late, of course. Then the door opened, and in rushed a girl, clearly out of place. Her hair was damp from the rain, a few strands sticking to her face. Her floral dress was creased, her cheap handbag held tightly as if it carried her whole life. She looked around nervously, her eyes wide, searching. She spotted him. Their eyes met for a second, hers warm and uncertain, his cool and unreadable. And before Ethan could speak, she walked over quickly and said, "I'm so sorry I'm late." Ethan blinked. "Excuse me." She smiled awkwardly, pulling out the chair and sitting down. "The traffic was horrible, and my umbrella broke, and, oh, I'm Lena." She extended her hand. He hesitated. Then, slowly, took it. Ethan. For a few minutes, silence. Then something unexpected happened. She began to talk. About her day, her lost job, her mother's health, her dreams that never came true. She laughed at herself, sometimes nervously, sometimes honestly. Her words poured like a stream, messy but real. Ethan should have stopped her. Should have told her she had the wrong table. But for some reason, he didn't. Instead, he listened. For the first time in years, he listened. Her honesty was disarming. Her clumsy charm drew out emotions he'd buried long ago, curiosity, empathy, even a faint smile. Halfway through the coffee, the real Valerie finally walked in, elegant, flawless, everything the world said Ethan deserved. But Ethan didn't move. He just watched as the waitress pointed Valerie to another table. He stayed right there, across from the girl who had nothing, yet made him feel everything. When she finally realized her mistake, when she turned pale and stammered, "Wait, you're not from the app. You're not Michael," Ethan just smiled. "No," he said softly, "but I'm glad you sat here anyway." That night, when she left, he couldn't stop thinking about her. About her laugh. About her eyes. About how, for the first time in years, the silence inside him felt a little less heavy. Chapter 2: The Heart He Didn't Know He Had. The next morning, Ethan couldn't focus. Meetings blurred. Contracts meant nothing. His assistant noticed it immediately. The CEO who never lost focus now stared blankly at the window, lost in thought. He didn't know why he cared. He didn't even know her last name. Until fate intervened. Later that week, while visiting a construction site on the city's edge, he saw her again, Lena. Wearing a safety helmet 2 sizes too big, holding paperwork, arguing with a foreman about fair wages. She worked there, part-time, organizing labor schedules to save money for her sick mother. Their eyes met again, shock, disbelief, and then, a smile. "Still waiting for your real blind date?" she teased, brushing dirt off her sleeves. He chuckled. The cold CEO actually laughed. No, she never showed up. But someone better did. They talked again, this time without pretense. She didn't treat him like a boss, or a billionaire. She treated him like a person. Someone human. Ethan began visiting more often, bringing her coffee, pretending it was business. They spent hours together, her optimism melting his ice-cold demeanor little by little. She made fun of his perfection, he admired her courage. But reality wasn't kind. When Ethan's board discovered he was spending time with a construction worker, rumors began. The media mocked her, painting her as a gold digger. His mother confronted him, furious, "You'll ruin your name, Ethan. She's not one of us." Lena heard everything. And one evening, she disappeared. No messages. No calls. Nothing. Ethan felt something he hadn't felt in years, fear of loss. He searched for weeks until he found her in a small clinic, volunteering, helping children, her eyes tired but gentle as ever. "Why did you leave?" he asked quietly. She looked at him, her voice breaking. "Because you belong to a world I'll never fit into. And I don't want to be your mistake." He stepped closer, eyes glistening, the man who never showed emotion, now trembling. "You weren't a mistake, Lena. You were the only thing that ever felt right." Tears slipped down her cheeks as he took her hand. "Then don't let the world decide who's worthy of love," she whispered. And right there, in that quiet clinic, surrounded by children's laughter and the faint hum of the rain outside, Ethan Ward, the cold CEO, finally let his walls fall. Months later, he opened a new foundation, the Hayes Home, providing jobs and education for underprivileged families. At the ribbon-cutting ceremony, he stood beside Lena, no longer the poor girl who sat by mistake, but the woman who taught him what wealth truly meant. As reporters asked about his success, Ethan simply smiled and said, "Everything changed the moment she sat down by mistake."